Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here. In this video we're going to be talking about Telepathic Integration 101. So when we're taking a look at telepathy, it's this very element that's going to be a large part of our future generations. That we're basically moving from a very linear-based, vocalized, communicative species, moving more into a telepathic-based species. Now, many of us are starting to integrate a lot of these components relating to telepathic communication. What is the one fundamental nature that connects us all to the aspect of telepathy? What is the perception? Love is the perception. When you fall in love with your partner, you feel this beautiful integration. You may start to dream about them. You may start to just feel all of these amazing emotions, happiness, joy, and even when they're sad, when they're nervous, when they're upset, when they're in a lot of despair, you're just corded to those particular aspects, those individuals who you love so much, whether it be a partner, whether it be a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, your daughter, your son, whoever it might be. The love is the tether that connects one person to another. It's our natural form of perceptual communication. Now, it is also true that there are technologies that can be telepathic as well too, in regards to mental transmission. The whole idea is that the perception then becomes bland. So when you're basically aligning to a frequency that could be on a telepathic level, the love itself really isn't there. It's more in regards to a mechanical process. This is what happens with channelers as well too, is that they start to pick up a frequency in a mechanical process and then start to funnel it through. So love is the perceptual understanding of telepathy, but it's not the entirety of it. Telepathy in that sense, again, works through all of the ranges of frequency and vibration. So again, people who are able to access their higher self, people who are able to access other forms of consciousness that they did not know existed, they were able to symmetrically align. But the easy way, the real easy way for us to have this type of telepathic connection is when we're in love. Because we immediately know that resonance. We know the perception of what that feels like. I adore this person so much. Oh my goodness, there's such a strong feeling, a strong rapport. Now that love itself gets built up over time. It's not that you're instantly going to meet a woman on the street, or you're instantly going to meet a man on the street and instantly fall in love with them. You know, as much as some people might like to joke about it. But you're intrigued. And over time, that perception of love begins to build. And so the telepathic connection perceived through love, from person to person, from persons to persons as well, builds up over time. The whole connection starts to grow. It starts to expand. It's like planting a seed in the soil, watering it and just watching it sprout out and watching it grow. That's the same thing with telepathic nature. But when we do have that instant knowing, that instant connection of telepathy, this is how we're starting to move into understanding that it's a natural communication. It's a natural process. So how does love become involved? When I say that our perception of telepathy is the most familiar through love, what is it that I'm talking about? What if I don't love a person? Am I able to be telepathic with them? Yeah, absolutely. Because again, when you're looking at love as perception, Love is the confirmation of an integrated perception of a person, place, event, or thing. So love becomes what is grown over time. It's the seed that's planted in the soil, it's watered, and it starts to grow. So that's how we look at it. Now, if we were to look beyond love, when we're looking at telepathy, as if we were working with crystalline technology, we're basically looking at resonators. We're moving into awareness. So, what does that mean? If love is the perception device, what is it that is the receiving device? Our receiving device is awareness. And of course, the conception device is source, consciousness. So this is basically the whole idea, the triad of relationship pertaining to telepathy. That we have source, consciousness, that we have the receiving of awareness, and that we have the perception of love. And that's exactly the mechanics of telepathy. It's being able to tune into different degrees of awareness and bring them forward. And our perceptional depth of understanding comes from the degree of love, of being able to love that person. This is why an empath is so amazingly powerful, because he or she is able to tune into people so easily, because he or she has been able to develop a very strong, fulfilling, loving relationship with themselves, and they're able to see that in all aspects of themselves. So their perception of how they feel, the feelings, the emotions, the aspects of others is all perceived through the created perceptional filter of love. And that's how it's done. So, is it true that emotion itself is what's behind telepathy? When we look at telepathy, is it emotionally activated? In the ways of perception, yes. Perception is simply depth. It's being able to interpret what you are receiving. But again, as we were stating, is it true that telepathy needs emotion in order for it to be felt? No, it doesn't. Again, this is how you are developing computer systems, for example, or computer systems of the future, that will literally be able to transmit, interpret, and relay information pertaining to thought forms, pertaining to different forms of transmission produced through thought. We're basically taking a look at Tesla coils. We're basically looking at specifically calibrated forms of crystal, specifically quartz as well. Many of these crystals exist underneath the earth, and we're basically buried technology. So these are all aspects of how the receptivity to telepathy comes through for us actually to translate it, whether it be with Tesla coils, whether it be with crystals, etc. You can actually design a graphical user interface, a form of computer that would be able to interpret thought forms and actually transmit it in regards to what it receives based upon its frequency integrations. That's being a little technical. So again, I think that might be a telepathy 301. But again, just something for you to ponder upon. Again, this is what Atlantis had very, very strongly. Technology that was telepathic. So, when again, we're looking at perception here, when we're looking at love, let's go back to that. Okay, it's part of T101. When we're looking at love, when we're looking at being able to purely, in-depthly perceive what we're feeling around us, how does that happen? How are we able to be so accurate in able to discover what another person is thinking? When we have that growing perceptual love connection with that other person, how do we know? How do we know that's happening? It comes through pure thought. And that's the whole idea. There are no amenities, so to speak, or byproducts pertaining to what you're feeling. When you're feeling love from your partner, you're not saying about the idea of, oh, I love how I went to Walmart today and picked up this big gigantic thing of nutmeg. That's not a thought. That's nothing to do with what you're doing, so to speak. So it's not that ego storage is attempting to come through. When you're aligned with that person, you connect eye to eye, and you just feel that sensation. How you know that person just absolutely adores you, thinks that you're beautiful today, really likes what you're wearing, whatever it may be, thinks you smell good. It all comes from the purity of thought. Thought purity is the natural transmission of telepathy. So again, this is how integration of love can expand your depth of perception relating to telepathy. It's quite fascinating. So let's put a little bit more example in regards to the purity of thought. As we're all looking to be telepathic integrators here. So, if I'm looking at the purity of thought, and if I all of a sudden held up a picture of a dog, alright, and I put that little dog alright, I'll just leave it like that. Not the best at drawing animals. But if I was to basically put a picture, a live picture, just snapping it outside of this dog, and I pop it right there on the board, and we're all just starting to look at it, and I ask you, what is it that you feel about this dog that I've taken a picture of and that I've put on this board? What feelings come to mind? Some may be able to get it right away, and some may say, oh, that dog is actually very, very happy. He's frolicking. I feel there's so much just joy in his heart. It feels really great. Others may say, I don't know. I can't tap in. I'm not getting it. I don't know what to say about this dog. But what's happening? Why is it that one person can get it and another person can't? Because that other person who doesn't really get it has not been able to integrate themselves into a vastness of awareness pertaining to understanding that empathy. Empathy sometimes can be limited to the bands of frequency. So how is that going to be worked on? You continue to work on with what you feel is familiar to you and gain a fundamental understanding of what you are familiar with pertaining to love telepathy. And then you begin to move, you begin to broaden yourself, you begin to expand, because there's still elements within those aspects, within those particular ranges of bandwidth of telepathy that are still looking to coach you, that are still looking to say, here's more aspects pertaining to what you're able to perceive as love right now. As you perceive it more and more, your field will be able to expand. You're expanding your awareness. Some people are able to really sense the wonderful behaviors in animals telepathically, but when it comes to human beings, they may not be able to sense a thing. That's simply how they're calibrated. There's only one or two of these particular bands that are activated. These other three require a little bit more integration components in order for them to work. That could represent being more empathic with human beings, or being more empathic with animals from what you are already naturally empathic with pertaining to human beings. So again, it varies. But the more that you can broaden your awareness, the more that you understand realization, the more activations that come through, you'll be multi-platform pertaining to telepathic experience. But it all comes down to the purity of thought. Purity of thought will be accurate through telepathy every single time. Well, Brad, what do you mean by purity of thought? When I say thoughts are pure, what are they? They have nothing attached to them. It's just like you're just seeing this beautiful orb that's coming down, and it has no dilution, it's not tainted, it's just a pure color. It's just pure light. Nothing is causing it any form of distortion, nothing's causing any form of dilution to it. So this is basically what you're looking to continue to expand. The purity of thought, seeing it as a spiral, and becoming more and more aware. So some homework for you tonight, or today, this morning, wherever you are in the world, pertaining to telepathy, is being able to talk to a best friend, or your partner, or your mom, your dad, whoever you feel you have a very strong love bond with, and just being able to play a telepathy game. You're able to sit down with each other, you're looking at each other eye to eye, and you're feeling what comes through. What kind of aspects of my best friend, or of my partner, or of my mom or dad are coming through that I never knew about them before? And you just play that game. As long as you're both open to it, you can go ahead and do that. But just being able to play with telepathic aspects. And again, it's really easy to do it with a partner, or with a best friend, or with a family member, because that love is already established. You don't need to go find a stranger on the street, pull them aside, and say, hey, get your ass over here. I want to play a telepathic game with you. I'm like, what? Get the hell away from me, you know? So it's not about that. It's just basically being able to build rapport with the person whom you love, and being able to connect and discover purity of thought through these telepathic aspects. Then you can move on a little bit more. If you have a favorite pet, if you have some pictures on the internet that you feel you want to go into and scope and dive into deeply through your love perception, through your awareness, through your empathy, go ahead and try that as well too. Telepathy is just an absolutely amazing quality that we all possess. And as long as we're able to understand the depth of its perception through love, we'll be able to fundamentally utilize telepathy as a common language, as a common form of communication, just as often as how we vocally communicate to each other. This is going to be replacing it very, very soon, but we need to understand how it works, how it operates. We know that it is conceived by source. We know that it is received by awareness. And we know that it is perceived by love, by feeling. That's the whole idea. It's not so much about emotion. Emotion in that sense are just extremes of feeling, and they're gauges. And you know, it can work in that way, but it's really just being able to perceive it in the way of natural feeling, in the way of natural love. Love itself is not an emotion, it is a state of being, and it translates together through the state of feeling. All right? So thank you very much. Go ahead and try this on your own. If you have any other questions pertaining to this video, please feel free to email me anytime. info@consciousmatrix.com. This is again what I do teach through private sessions. And of course there will be some packages coming onto the new consciousmatrix.com website very, very soon, where it basically is extensive amounts of personal training between you and me, working with things like this, helping to develop your telepathy, your intuition, your channeling ability, your healing, becoming a universal matrix, all kinds of great stuff. So keep in touch. Feel free to visit the website. New ones coming up later this week or early next week. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Brad Johnson. Take care, namaste, and may it be well with you. Goodbye.